Well, happy holidays and welcome back. My name is Sheldon McLeod, and as mentioned, this is Thinking Out Loud. It's my spot here at the SaltWire Network to help connect you with people in our community, and I'm very blessed to have this opportunity to talk to people who I've found entertaining and interesting and who have had influence on us in this part of the world and across this country. And it was a real treat when I was asked, do I want to speak with someone who has had a connection to Canada and the holidays for years? And I don't think it's any secret that Tom Jackson is back on the road for charity. And over his time, his philanthropic efforts have raised close to $250 million in cash and in kind for food banks and disaster relief since the 1980s. And he's crossing the country with his National Stories, Song, and Santa Causes tour, started in Edmonton in November and will be in Halifax December 13th, wrapping up the whole tour, December 16th in St. John's. And to, well, introduce him by that way, Tom Jackson, welcome to the space, and thank you so much for being so generous with your time.
Well, thanks, Sheldon, and thanks for supporting us. It's the community, it's Feed Nova Scotia, it's you, it's the team that makes this whole thing function. So thanks for being there for us.
You and the holidays, was it close to 18 years for the Huron Carol?
34.
In total, 34 years that you'd been touring with that. And I want to ask how this current Christmas show is different.
Its focus is, and you might have thought this for previous years too, but we never really focused on it. Our job is to make people happy and healthy. Happy is healthy, healthy is happy. And the reason that focus is because we've been under the weight of COVID for 2 years and not able to actually perform live, even though we did a bit of that last year. It's really top of mind for me, in part because of my work with the Red Cross and having some, arm's length connection to what's going on in Ukraine. My upline, the head of the Red Cross here in Canada, Conrad Solvey, said to me, he said, we need to figure out how to put the child back in the child. There's 7.5 million children in Ukraine that don't know how to be children anymore. And we, here in Canada, our children watch television, and that weight from just seeing it makes them go to bed sometimes with a lot of stress. And I think we need to find a way to make our children happy. And if we can find a way to make our children happy, then our family's going to like it. And if our family likes it, then maybe your community's going to like it. They'll like seeing that. Then maybe the province, maybe the nation. What about that? Let's go for that. And then maybe the world. So we, in order to do that in our show, I think have become childlike. And it's a lot of fun, I have to say. But, there's a thing that I like to call social prescription. And it's what you do when you're not going to feel that great, but you don't want to go to the medicine cabinet. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We want to learn how to leap, learn, laugh, and love. Not the word, but the verb. Christmas, to me, is a verb. So let's not just celebrate Christmas. Let's be Christmas, because we've been like that since we were kids. We always create happy for others, and we do things for people, and that's what we want to do. So when you come to the show, you're not just coming to the show, you're actually saving lives. I mean, people who use food banks, the increased need is not just the increased number, but it's less food, more need. So we need to ourselves pay attention to what's going on around us. When a food bank helps someone, we don't necessarily know who that is, but what if the person that they help pays it forward? Right? What if they pay it forward? What if they pay it forward? And what if the person that they help is somebody you love? What if? Right? We don't know the value of the gift. The gift is priceless. Love is priceless. but it loses its value. It loses its sense if you don't share it.
I get the sense that with inflation where it's at, with the homelessness issue right across this country, that we've never been in a place where there's more need for support, more need for us to be getting together to lift each other up. It sounds like that's what your focus is right now.
It is so. And but it's it's a two-way street, right? You're going to get the value of helping somebody else. The gift is in the giving. And so if you're not feeling up to snuff, so to speak, what does that mean, up to snuff? Hard to say, but I don't know what that means. Anyway, if you're not feeling up to snuff, do something for somebody. I mean, even now, like when you and I, Sheldon, get off, we disconnect, how many people do you think are listening right now? Let's say it's 1,000, just for fun, right? 1,000 people are listening. Now, when we disconnect, we want our listeners to pick up the phone and call somebody and tell them that they love them and ask them to do the same. In 5 minutes from the time that we disconnect, the world will have changed.
That's a very wonderful way to put it. I had the pleasure of hearing from a speaker, a professor, who said that we've got it backwards, that we think success brings happiness, but it's the opposite, that happiness will bring success, that if you can find a way to focus on the positive, that will lift you up throughout professional career, throughout your that we tend not to remember that the joy in the small things, the small pleasures. And one of his pieces of advice was exactly as you point out: reach out to someone, reach out to just to tell them how you're thinking of them and you wish them well. And that's an amazing way to reframe our own position in life, to look for happiness.
You know, I was in Halifax for 4 months, 5 months this year. Mm-hmm. And it was really interesting. Somebody, well, what were you doing out there? Well, I was working on a television series called Sullivan's Crossing. But here's the thing that I discovered about Halifax, is that there's a DNA in your friends and neighbors. There is. And it's tender, loving care. Like, I've never, my entire career, never worked in a community where I felt that sense of that DNA than I did this year. I mean, it's just amazing how wonderful and kind and caring and observant, conscious people are. That, at least where I was lucky enough to be surrounded, but it didn't matter where I went. It seemed to be the same everywhere that I went in Halifax and in the area around Nova Scotia, just so you know.
What does it mean to you that people recognize you as a storyteller as much as a performer and an entertainer? Well, I'm not really sensitive. I don't have my senses up that I'm actually a storyteller, although that I do tend to babble a lot. And I do tend to tell jokes that my wife doesn't think that's funny, but she thinks I'm funny, so that's okay. But the storytelling part, I don't know where that came from. I can't help you there. You had, according to some of the information that I found about you, you moved around a lot when you were young, and that makes an impression on someone. You carry that through your life, and I think it either pushes you one of two ways. Either that is how you live your life for the rest of it, or you find and grow roots, and that's how you want to live your life. As a performer, as someone who tours, as someone who goes to communities to make film and television, I'm wondering how that is with you, that idea that where you began and where you ended up, what's that journey been like? It's been checkered. I came up with that word looking at the background there. It was checkered, to say the least. Colorful and adventurous. All of the things that a swashbuckler would have liked in their life. You know,
it's been very exciting for me. It's been a great adventure, and I can't go without saying this, that my oxygen comes from working for others. Who, I had a famous story in my world is I had a dark place where I lived once, and I built that dark place, and I was addicted to drugs, and I had a visitor who said, Tom, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to send you an angel that's going to be worse off than you, and if you help that angel, I'm going to help you. And I said, well, how will I know the angel? Will it have wings? And he said, no. So I went looking. I took the deal, and I found that there were a lot of angels out there that were worse off than me, and that brought me here to you. I kept looking, and the joy and the oxygen that it gave me and continues to give me, I need to pass on and teach to others. And because without oxygen, you can't exist. And so it's that joy that keeps me doing what I'm doing. And I don't do it for me. I really don't. I don't act for me. I don't sing for me. I sing for you. And you know why? Because I love you. That's why.
As National Stories, Songs, and Santa Causes tour will be coming to the Bella Rosa Arts Center in Halifax coming up on December the 13th. And I guess to that end, we're in this place right now where people are losing faith in some of the institutions. There's distrust of media. There's distrust of government. You've seen the way people have been treating each other throughout the pandemic. Do you have to be political? Not you specifically, but how do we affect change? Where does that have to come from? Does it come from the leaders? Does it come from, in your opinion, where should we start looking for the answers?
I believe that our leadership, we want better roads and better health care, better education. That's great, but no money, no movie. Right? No money, no movie. And it takes political will in order to create that kind of change. That's the only place where it's going to exist. I once said to a politician, I said, if you're not going to save the life of my child, I'm not going to vote for you. That's the deal. And I'm going to tell everybody else that I know that I'm not going to vote for you. On the other hand, if you do, I'm going to tell everybody I know. So it is up to our leadership. You've got a great premier out in your part of the world. I met him, and I like him, and I would stand next to him, because I think that his heart is in the right place. But he needs help too. He needs, the support of the community. It's not just one side. They say often, is it the hand up or the hand out? Well, they both exist, right? Yeah, I was once meeting my brother at a coffee shop, and it was cold, and there was a young lady standing outside the coffee shop. She had a box, and the lid was open, and she had something in her hand, and she was reaching it out to me, and I was late for the coffee, and I said, I thought to myself, oh, later, I'll catch her later. And I went inside, and my brother was in there, and his name is Bernie, and he says, did you see the girl? And I said, yeah. And he said, did you get one of these? And he had a piece of paper, and he unwrapped it. And it said, I can't stop the snow, but I can love you. I went back outside to try and catch that girl, and of course she was gone. But I guess what I mean to say is that, in our world, doesn't matter whether it's somebody beside you or, upstairs or downstairs, look them in the eye, make sure that you make contact with them, because that's what's going to make change. There's that angel on the corner that might be scaring you because he's preaching to a little loud and whatnot, he'll help you sleep.
Tom Jackson, stories, songs, and Santa causes, and it's going to be, I'm sure, a wonderful show for the folks who show up. And again, it's paying it forward as well. Have you found that this helps get you into the spirit of the season doing this?
It will get me into the spirit of the season again. Yes is the answer, but it'll happen next year too. It'll start in January. There's a lot to be done between New Year's and Christmas.
Well, it is an extreme pleasure to meet you, and I don't know if I'll ever have this opportunity again. So I'll ask you something fairly political in another way, which is the relationship that this country has with its First Nations. We've come through some reconciliation. We've come through some perhaps recognition of what has happened and the path that our country has put the First Nations, the people who were here before settlers. And I'm wondering where you see that relationship and where we can all participate and help recognize that we're all treaty people.
Well, just to clearly define truth and reconciliation, just think about the two words, right? Truth, we got the truth, we get it, got it. So now that's what happened. Now what's going to happen? That's the reconciliation. What are you going to do now that you know that something needs to be done? But that being said, there's also I had the pleasure of meeting Chief Roseanne Casimir from Kamloops Indian Reservation a week and a half ago, and we talked about what does reconciliation mean. Reconciliation, from my perspective, is let me show you what that is. Let me care for you. Let me give you a gift. You don't have to give me a gift. I need to give you a gift just to show you what reconciliation can look like. And we can do that with our leadership. We can be leaders in reconciliation, in case you're wondering what it is. It's being kind. Right? We don't. Do you think you have to teach your child kindness? No. You only have to be kind. And your family will see it, and they'll like it. And then maybe your community sees it. And what if they like it? And what if the nation sees it and they like it? How about that? You don't have to teach your child to be kind. You only have to be kind.
Well said. A companion of the Order of Canada, a Juno Gemini Humanitarian Award winner, 11-time honorary degree recipient, and a proud bearer of the 2014 Governor General's Performing Arts Award for Lifetime Achievement. Tom Jackson, it's been an extreme pleasure. Thank you, and we look forward to your performance in Halifax on the 13th and in St. John's, Newfoundland on the 16th of December.
Thank you, sir. Now, don't forget to call somebody and tell them you love them and tell them to tell the next person.